You're listening to Healthy House Calls with Angel, and today we're talking about building a better brain to design the life you deserve. And I'm sharing with you my very own mental health story. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy the show. Hello, welcome to Healthy House Calls with Angel. I am your host, Angel Shannon, giving you tips, tools, and holistic strategies to live a healthier life by intentional design. Join me as we explore the landscape of lifestyle medicine, offering practical tips that help you eat, sleep, move, and live better, and help you become fit and functional for life. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy the show. Hello. Welcome back. I'm Angel Shannon, founder and executive director of Siva Health and the Siva Institute, where we put mindfulness and compassion in action to help you live longer and live better. My dear listeners, I have missed you so much. I've missed you so much, and I'm just so happy to be back in my recording studio, back to my podcast. So much has happened since the last episode, and I have to thank you for hanging in there. Thank you to my dear listeners for reaching out to me in email and direct messages and just saying, Angel, when are you going to get back on your podcast? I miss hearing your voice. I miss, those regular episodes. Thank you so much for reaching out to me and letting me know that you enjoyed the podcast. You enjoyed the first and second seasons, the content that was being, produced and provided. And that means so very much to me. And it led me to thinking about, the whole structure of, everything that we have going on at Siva Health and the Siva Institute. So first and foremost, I want to thank you, dear listeners, for being here, for being back with me. And I want to jump right in and let you know what's been going on, not only in my life, but in my business and the direction that we're heading with things here. So first and foremost, you probably know that the last 2 years I've been hosting Design the Life You Deserve retreats. It's a 5-day retreat for ladies 45, 50, and over to renew, refresh, and reinvent their life. And I tell you, I have had so much fun, so much joy designing this retreat, putting this offering together, holding space for women who really are at that stage in life where they just know they've got to do something different. It's been years and years of, putting themselves on the back burner. Exercise has been neglected. Self-care has been neglected. Other people's, urgencies and emergencies have been put on the front burner while all their own things have been on the back burner. And more specifically, women who are at the stage of life of transition. Whether it be, perimenopause, menopause, physical transition, or just even mental transitions. As we get older, of course, our parents get older. So this is the stage of life where sadly we are, losing parents. Children are getting older, so they're moving out, creating lives of their own. And, careers are starting to stall, maybe not just not feeling a sense of purpose and fulfillment. We've been working, 30, 40 years by now. And we're just knowing that we are in a stage of transition. Lots of things changing, lots of emotions coming up, lots of mental, self-sabotaging thoughts coming up. A lot of judgment, a lot of fear, while also a lot of curiosity about what could be next for us. And so there's a lot of life design and wayfinding going on. And that's what the Design the Life You Deserve retreats are all about. Even in the midst of all of those, physical symptoms of weight gain and hot flashes or, difficulty sleeping, difficulty focusing, brain fog, not eating well, not even having any desire to cook anymore. In the midst of all of the physical things going on, there are all the mental things as well. And that transition space, that liminal space, as we call it. So that's what the Design the Life You Deserve retreats are all about. It's just giving ourselves that time and space freedom to think about what's next. What do we want our lives to look like on the other side of grief, on the other side of children moving out, creating their own lives, on the other side of maybe divorce, on the other side of careers that have clearly come to an end, where we're feeling burnt out, unfulfilled, a lack of a sense of purpose. What do I want my life to look like on the other side of this experience? That's what the retreats are all about. That's the space that we hold during those retreats. And let me tell you, the ladies who attended last year, this year, had a phenomenal experience, just a phenomenal experience. And if you follow me on social media, specifically on Instagram, where I'm able to show pictures and share the stories of these ladies, you just know that, retreats are a very special gift. They are a very special gift that we give to ourselves, the gift of just radical self-compassion and self-care. And, it's something that I really, really hold sacred in my own heart. I shared my own story about the first time I was introduced to the concept of retreats when my children were little. And I was in that liminal space, transitioning from being a single person to being married and being a wife and being a mother, and just really needing to figure out, who's on first, who's on second kind of thing. And I credit my very dear friend, who I will call by name, Patrice Gaines. She is the author of Laughing in the Dark, a bestseller, and a former reporter for the Washington Post, a dear friend of mine, who said, Angel, it sounds like you need a retreat. You need some time to take a step back so that you can take a step forward. And I'll tell you, my children were little, and at the time I could only go away for 2 days, but it was the best 2 days of my life, the most refreshing time. And, I'm a writer. At the time I was writing poetry. I was also writing my collection of essays, working on a novel, and, just learning how important it was to have that retreat space really did change my life. And it changed the way I parent, changed the way I engaged as a wife, as a daughter, changed the way I show up in my career. It just was so transformative for me. And I'd always dreamed of hosting my own retreats. And so here I am. And I have to thank you, Patrice, if you're listening, just let you know what a gift it was for me in my life. So this year, I had the second annual retreat. We went to Bacalar, Mexico. It's in the Yucatan region. Absolutely beautiful. Hosts Acalqui Holistic Center. I thank you so much for everything that you've done to support my mission here at the SIVA Institute to create space for women who are looking for everything that I described. So thank you so much to the team down at Acalqui. I look forward to being back with you again to do some one-on-one work and to hopefully participate in some of the retreats that you're offering there too. So that's what I've been really focused on over the last 2 years is, being prepared to receive my guests, in Bacalar, and also designing the next 5 years worth of retreats. So we've got some really exciting destinations in the works for you. And I'll be making those announcements. So I'll say right off the bat, if you're not already subscribed to my newsletter, please go to sivahealthgroup.com. Make sure you opt in for my newsletter, Healthy Housecalls with Angel, because that's really how you're going to get all of the announcements, the early bird discounts, the early enrollment, all the tools that you need to be supported in your lifestyle journey to change your life, not just your symptoms, and to live longer and live better. And just to be a part of a community where people are excited about longevity and vitality and living longer and living better. Because what's the point of living longer if you're not living better, right? So get on my mailing list, join over 5,000 people, 5,000 happier people who are using the power of lifestyle medicine to change their life, not just their symptoms. please get on that mailing list. It's sivahealthgroup.com/start here. And if you find me at my website, angelvshannon.com, you can jump on there. Make sure you're subscribing to this podcast because I'm back. I'm ready and, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed and ready to go. So subscribe, opt into the updates with the podcast releases as well. And I'll say right off the bat, too, consider joining me in my private community. We're living in a world now where there's so much going on social media. There are people who are just very upset, very unhappy about a lot of different things. And yes, there are a lot of things in the world to be upset and unhappy about. But I just think it's a good idea to have private spaces where we can do the work that we need to do for ourselves, with ourselves, by ourselves, without the fear of gaslighting or the algorithms or, communities being shut down just because someone said something. I was part of a Facebook community where there were over 15,000 members, women like myself who were sharing such good information with each other. They were women who'd moved to Mexico and moved to other different countries. So a lot of expats in different countries and sharing resources. And it just took one or two people, unfortunately, in that community, who weren't happy, were very, very miserable. And unfortunately, the community got shut down. And my heart just goes out to the person who created the community because, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work bringing people together. So that being said, I absolutely invite you to join the Siva Circle. It's not on Facebook. It's not on X. It's not on, Instagram. It's a private community, safe space where you're here to be seen, heard, valued, accepted in a community of women who really do want a safe space like you do to unpack a lot of the things that I talk about openly on the podcast, on my social channels, in my newsletter. So consider joining the Siva Circle, the Siva Circle. I'm going to leave it in the show notes for you. First 2 weeks are free. You can come on over and just have a look and, test drive and see what you like. But lots of different things to learn with other women who are interested in learning the same things that you are learning. So whether it's metabolic, management, to jumpstart your metabolism in midlife, managing menopause or perimenopause. I've got different classes for that. Cooking classes, food, mood, and mental health, build a better brain. All the different things that I talk about on my social channels, it's all there for you to come and learn. So that's the other thing that I've been busy doing over the past 2 years is really creating a place of community learning. So rather than coming to join a community, meet other people and all this kind of thing, which is great, I've really focused on creating a place to learn together the things that you feel you specifically want to gain mastery in. So I have a brand new offering, Everyday Retreats with Angel. So if you didn't travel with me on retreat, I have a brand new circle where you can learn how to bring the gifts of a retreat into your everyday life. There are journal prompts, weekly check-ins, how to create healthy boundaries, how to have that oasis time to yourself, all of the things that you need to know to bring the art and gift and magic of retreat into your daily life, and how to make that a practice, how to create the ritual of retreat in your life. So it's Everyday Retreats with Angel. If you go to the Siva Circle, you'll see that offering there. So that's another thing I've been busy building out, and I'm so happy to let you know about that. And the bigger thing is the better thing. One of the things about retreats is, it gives me the time to sit down and think about what is important in my life. One of the things I know about clutter, whether it be physical clutter or mental clutter, is that when my life gets cluttered, it creates, when my life is cluttered, it takes my eyes off of what is important. It confuses what is urgent versus what is emergent. And it takes my eyes off of what is important. And so having a retreat annually is also a gift for myself to get clear about what is important in my life. And while I was away on retreat, I realized a very, very important theme in my work, and that is mental health. I want to tell you a quick story about my own mental health journey. And this is really important so that you understand where my work is going and why it's going in this direction. 31 years ago, I came into healthcare. And I was very excited, very, very passionate about my career in critical care. I started my career in ICU, trauma, critical care. I've worked in the number one research institution in the United States, Johns Hopkins Hospital. I worked at the R. Adams Cowley Shock Trauma Center, University of Maryland. I've worked in some very, very, very very big institutions of learning and of medicine. And I've been involved in research studies. I've been involved in home care. I've had a very, very beautiful career. And because I started in critical care, ICU and trauma, I've seen a lot of things. But I'll say at about the 20th year, I had started to feel really burnt out. I mean, just really, really burnt out. I was working 12-hour shifts that turned into 16. I'll never forget the snowmageddon that happened in 2008, 2009 here in Maryland, 17, 18 inches worth of snow, and being threatened by senior management that if, I did not return to work in the midst of a blizzard, that I'd be terminated. I and other nurses. Our shift was over. We all needed to go home and check in on our own children, our own families. And we were being told that if we left, despite the fact that we had relief, other staff members had made it in safely, thank goodness. If we left, we'd be terminated. And we'd receive some sort of, punitive, write-up, suspension, other things. And then the offering to us, quote unquote, was that we would stay and work, sleep during the day so that we could come back to work 12 hours later or so. And what we were told is that there were 2 rooms on the, 5th floor or so where we could go upstairs and sleep. And that the accommodations, get this, were blankets and pillows. And if we didn't hurry up and get upstairs and find a bed or 2, that were available, that we were welcome to sleep on chairs and or sleep on the floor. And I'll never forget that. I'll never, ever, ever forget standing in the administrative office being lectured by our administrators. Now, I need to say this was not at Hopkins. This was at a different hospital that I will not name. And the looks on the faces of management, as well as the looks on my colleagues, was like, you just can't be serious. You cannot be serious right now. And they were serious. And so under the threat of being terminated, several of us left, went home. And sure enough, we did get, there was some punitive, write-up of those of us who went home. Some of us made it back. Some of us did not because it was a blizzard and we were, stuck. And so what I realized is that in that moment, I said to myself, this is not my life. This is not my life. This is not what I went to school for. This is not what I've sacrificed for. This is not what I am leaving my children every weekend for 12 and 16 hours with their grandmother for. This is not my life. I've got to do something different. What I also realized is that I was burnt out. I mean, really burnt out. Now, back then, 20 years ago or so, we weren't using that term burnt out. We only had the symptoms, right? So I was always tired, brain fogged all the time, going home, just, driving home and praying I would not get in an accident after my night shift because I was up all night, rarely having a bathroom break, rarely, having a meal break, getting something out of the machine to eat, rarely drinking water because, when you're in ICU and CCU, it's rough. There were times that we had to triple up, what we call triple up patients. That meant 3 patients to 1 nurse, 3 patients on ventilators, 3 patients on 5, 6, 7 different IV drips, on monitors that were going off all night long. I mean, you talk about stress. I knew then I've got to do something different. I cannot imagine getting to 40 and 50 and being in this same place. I have got to reinvent my life. So that's when my whole, all the magic came together to figure out this thing we now call life design, life coaching. I had to coach myself to changing my career, to getting through that transition, to getting out of burnout. There were no burnout coaches back then. There were no burnout therapists back then. There was no ICD-10 code for burnout. You were just burnt out, and you either stayed in it because, hey, sunken cost fallacy. I'm already this far in. I may as well stay. Or you were brave. You found some courage to say, I've got to do something different. And that's what happened for me. And I've been on this road since then to build a better life for myself, to get out of this space of burnout. Well, I went back to school. I went back to Penn State undergrad, finished my undergrad stuff that I needed to finish for my nursing. And then I went to University of Maryland, College of Nursing, School of Nursing to do graduate school and get my master's as a nurse practitioner. It was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. One of the best, short of being a mom, short of being a wife, short of being the best sister and daughter that I can be. Going back to school to become a nurse practitioner was one of the very best decisions I could have ever made. I graduated and started my own practice, and you know that story, but I'll tell you what, I quickly found myself back in a different kind of ICU and trauma, and that is caring for older adults. After I graduated, I had a friend who, I worked at, who introduced me to a practice where she worked, very, very busy practice, learned a lot, found myself taking care of about 25 patients a day, decided, I can't do this either. This too is just unbelievable and unsustainable, and decided, okay, I'm going to go for another reinvention. And that then was, starting my own practice. And I found myself caring for a lot of older adults. Like I said, a new version of ICU and trauma, and older adults with memory impairment, cognitive impairment, and dementia. A huge population of older adults. And that was about, 12, 13 years ago. And if you're not aware, there has been an explosion, an absolute explosion in the number of people with memory impairment. And not only memory impairment as older adults, but even younger, 60s, 50s. It's very, very sad. If you know anyone who is caring for someone with cognitive dysfunction, you know that it's not just an individual disease, it is a family disease. And because I have been working with this population for a long time, not just the patients, but also families, helping families figure out not only just medications, but management of the disease, all of the other intricacies and nuances of knowing when it's time to look for long-term care, knowing when it's time to get a proper workup to figure out whether this is Alzheimer's disease or Lewy body dementia or Parkinson's dementia. Because I've been doing this work for a long time now in private practice, it's created a sense of urgency for me to talk about building a better brain. Building a better brain is really, really important. And not only for older adults, but for those of us who find ourselves in midlife. This is the time when you really, really want to get serious about your brain health. Because at the end of the day, that's all we have. We talk a lot about cancer. We talk a lot about heart disease. And while those things are important, the bigger thing to think about is, what does any of this matter if we do not have a functioning brain? If we do not have a brain that allows us to think through our problems, to strategize, to get through the day, to know where we left our keys, to know how to pay our bills, to know how to drive to the store and get back home safely, right? What does it matter? All of this working and saving for retirement and, vision boards and all, what does it matter if we do not have a healthy brain to get us there? And this is very, very important in midlife. Our brains control everything. Our brains are what, sends signals to our hearts to beat, to our liver to metabolize, right? To our kidneys to function correctly. Brain power is important. It is absolutely important. Your ability to focus. All of this stuff we talk about with menopause and perimenopause, all of this stuff starts with hormones, brain function, neuroplasticity. These things are important. And so what came to me during my retreat this year is the importance of really driving home the tips, tools, and strategies you need to build a better brain, because a better brain makes everything else possible. When you sleep at night, your brain is clearing out all that debris, all of that trash, all of the dead cells that don't need to be there. That's all getting cleared out. When you wake up refreshed and renewed, you can think better. You can be more productive. You can earn a higher income when you can think better and be productive, right? You can be a better parent when you can think clearly. You can be a better spouse. You can show up in your community better. Everything about your life can change when you have a better brain. When you have a better brain, everything else is possible. And so I've been focusing on food and nutrition because we are what we eat. We feed our brains every day with food, and what we eat matters. I've been focusing on supplements because that is important too. What we give our brains, nutritionally is important, what's on our plate. But let's be honest, all of us, we don't all eat perfect meals. I've been focusing on neuroendocrine health. That's really important. When it comes to brain health, we've got to think about that little gland in our brain called the hypothalamus and its relation to the sympathetic nervous system and the adrenal gland. And here's the science in just a second or two, that in response to stress, the sympathetic nervous system and that hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, or HPA axis, signals to the adrenals to release these things called catecholamines, norepinephrine and epinephrine, and cortisol. And prolonged stress is associated with dysregulation of that HPA axis, which can impact the release of the catecholamines and cortisol levels. And so ladies who are struggling and men who are struggling with weight gain at this stage in life, really refining that HPA axis and restoring that HPA axis with supplementation with critical nutrients like L-methionine and L-tyrosine and L-histidine, and some of our adaptogens. That is really, really important. Understanding that the active forms of vitamin B and vitamin C, B12, C, they're important for the synthesis of these adrenal hormones and neurotransmitters. So I've been working a lot on nutritional supplementation to help correct these deficiencies. Because let's face it, none of us eats the perfect diet. None of us. There are times I myself skip a meal. There are times myself that I'm eating something that's, definitely not as rich in protein as it should be. So we all could use a little bit of something to help correct these nutritional deficiencies. And here's the other thing. Can we truly attest to where our food comes from, that our food is grown in healthy soil, soil that's rich in nutrients. Forget about whether there are pesticides or not and whether or not it's organic. Let's just ask ourselves whether the soil that our food is grown in is rich in magnesium, rich in vitamin C, rich in, sodium, potassium, all of those, electrolytes, things like that. Who can attest to that? None of us. Our food is shipped from miles and miles away. And in the shipping, it's kept in freezers so it can look pretty when it gets to the shelf. And if you're anything like me, some of these things last 2 or 3 days, and that's the end of that. So understanding functional nutrition to move ourselves from just functional to optimal has become part of my focus in my Build a Better Brain work. And more importantly, perhaps the most important, is I've been focusing on mindset. Because at this stage in life, many of us have been living with a whole lot of judgment, a whole lot of fear, a whole lot of, lack of courage. Making these shifts in our lifestyle are not easy, is not easy. Making these changes in lifestyle is not an easy thing to do. There's a lot that comes up, strong feelings, lots of things from our childhood, things that we were told we had to do, couldn't do, shouldn't do, need to do. There's a lot that comes up at this stage. And that too is part of brain health, building a better brain through mindset mastery so that we can make the lifestyle changes that we need to make in order to thrive, in order to live longer and live better. In order to change our lives, not just chasing symptoms, not just chasing symptoms. Building a better brain is about living longer and living better, changing our lives, not just chasing symptoms. Because again, like I said earlier, what does all of this matter? What does it matter? If you've saved $1 million for your retirement, what will it matter if you don't remember that the money is there in the first place? What will it matter if you're not able to make decisions for yourself? What will it matter if you can't remember whether you wrote a check for $50 or $5 or $5,000? What will it matter? Brain health matters. So here at Siva Health and the Siva Institute, everything we do is about helping you build a better brain in your lifestyle, making lifestyle changes, and taking it all one step at a time. Doing this in community with others who are just as passionate about longevity and living longer and living better, being energized, feeling productive, feeling a sense of fulfillment, not feeling burnt out. Doing that, all of that work in community with folks who feel just as passionate about those things as you do. So that's what we're offering here at Siva Health and the Siva Institute. Lots of designing the life you deserve and building a better brain, bite by bite, step by step, in community with others who are right there at that stage of life that you are. So I'm inviting you to bookmark this podcast, share it with someone else, because I am back. I am back bigger, better, and bolder than ever before. I am I am inviting you. I am inviting you to step into that bigger, better, bolder vision of yourself with me in this new season. In this new season of my own life, in your life, I'm inviting you to take that step. Take that step in 3 important ways. Number 1, sign up for my mailing list. Get on sivahealthgroup.com/start here, or just sivahealthgroup.com. Get on my website. Look at those free ebooks that I've got under the ebooks tab. Figure out which one you'd love to have and sign up for my mailing list. Okay, that's number 1. Bookmark this podcast, save it, tune back in, get the updates for when I put out new episodes. Follow me on Instagram. That's I kind of really like Instagram. It's a fun place, lots of creative folks. Follow me there. If not, follow me on LinkedIn. I do tend to ask my support team to go ahead and put posts there as well to let you all know what I'm up to. And I read every single post that's there from my newsletter and my own posts that I post myself. So follow me on one of the social channels. Join me in community, thesivacircle.com, thesivacircle.com. Have a look. Come on over and have a look at what's going on in our community. You can do that for free. First 2 weeks, have a look around, get the opportunity to work with me one-on-one, where I can answer your questions in a safe, private place where we don't have to worry about, all kinds of algorithms and other onlookers who always have other things to say that negate the work that we're doing and that you're doing for your life. So that's another offering. And sign up for updates on my events page on sivahealthgroup.com website. I've got a very big announcement coming out this week, an event that I've got going on for 2025. I'm so excited about this. I'm not going to give it away. I want you to go to my website, click on events, and see what's there and see what is there and sign up for the information night about that event, because this has very, very limited space, very, very limited space. So I want you to get in on that offering as well. So all in all, just to say, thank you, my dear listeners, for being back here with me, being back here bigger, bolder, and better than ever before, building a better brain and designing the life you deserve. Designing the life you deserve. I am so happy to be back. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for all of your well wishes, your love, your support, your kindness, and for saying, Angel, we need you back out here in podcast land. I truly appreciate you. So make sure you sign up for my mailing list, sivahealthgroup.com/start here. Get in on all of my offerings, my updates, the events calendar, what's going on at Siva Health and the Siva Institute, as well as upcoming Design the Life You Deserve retreats. I truly appreciate you. Until next time, you be well, be good to yourself, and never, ever, ever, ever be afraid to be amazing. Take good care. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in to Healthy House Calls with Angel. I hope today's episode leaves you feeling inspired, motivated, and empowered to live your best life by applying the practical tools of holistic lifestyle medicine to eat, sleep, move, and live better. Please don't forget to subscribe wherever you receive this podcast. Check in for show notes and share this podcast with friends. If you'd like even more tips in your inbox, subscribe to my newsletter, Healthy House Calls with Angel, by using the link in the show description. Until next time, be well and be good to yourself.